Hello, welcome to my channel, Simply Latrice. And my channel is just about, documenting my journey as someone who left my full-time or salaried position at the age of 55. And now, I'll say a year and 5 months in, I am just continuing to build side hustles, dedicate more time with my son. And so it's been a minute since I made a video, but today I just wanted to talk about what is in store for me, because sometimes I feel like I'm just working a lot, and that was the whole point of leaving my salary position, because of the burnout and just personal things that was going on with my son, and wanted to dedicate more time to him in his final years of school. And so it just feels like, I'm doing Lowe's, I'm doing my vending still, ShiftSmart, but, it's all a necessary means to a necessary end. So once I left my job, I did not work. Well, I had my vending machines, and I was, of course, doing that, but I didn't, take on another job until like 6 months after. I just started to feel like I needed to do a little bit more. I'm still able to. I just wanted to work how I wanted to work, I think was the main thing. And so I took a job at Lowe's, and it was just a part-time job. In the beginning, the store was new to the area, and so in the beginning, I was getting what I wanted, 20 to 25 hours a week. I was getting the benefits, which was very important, because after leaving work, benefits were not cheap, and I'm still carrying a dependent, and so they were even more expensive. And I just didn't want the hassle of always having to fill out paperwork and going on the site, and so taking a job and getting the employer benefits was very attractive to me, and so I took the position. I worked it maybe 3-4 months, and then the hours started to really taper off. And so I was getting, there was one week in there, 1 month in there, where I was maybe getting like 20 hours every paycheck. So 20 hours over a 2-week span was really like not worth my time, in my opinion. The benefits, I would go to the doctor, and I would still have hefty bills to pay. And so I just decided to go full time. There was an opportunity to, and so I took it. And so with that, I was guaranteed 39 hours a week. I got better benefits. And so that's where I'm at right now. Like I said, I get my 39 hours or 40 hours a week. I have benefits, medical, dental, vision, and I'm even thinking about maybe contributing to the 401k plan here soon. And so it works for me. My hours are 6 to 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. So I don't work nights. Getting off at 3, I'm able to meet my son home. He gets out of school at like 2:50, so 3 o'clock. And so I still have the flexibility in that to still spend time with him, get the hours for the supplemental income, have all, a wide range of benefits available to me. And so that felt sustainable, doing that with my vending. When I moved, so I downsized from my home to a smaller apartment, and the main goal was to get into a school district, because my son was currently in one that was not very healthy. There was a lot of bullying, racism played a big part in that, and so we I decided it was best to move. When I retired, I did so with my son being in school in a different city because he went to stay with my sister until I could wrap up what I needed to in order to leave my job. And he didn't have to continue to go through that type of, environment. And he had someone that was his age, my niece, that he could confide in and, have a friend, someone that he could hang out with, once again, confide in. And so that felt right. But during the course of him being there and me no longer at work and just trying to figure out things, of course, no one wants to be separated from their child under those circumstances. And so I wanted to get him back home. And so he's home. We moved. We're in a good school district. At that age, 15, 16, there's always going to be some, issues with kids, unfortunately. And so, yes, that happens, but it's not to the extent, and it doesn't weigh on him like it did in the previous district. And so, those things are what what it is. And so with the, position full time at Lowe's, like I said, it works. We're able to still have weekends off and do things, eat, talk, communicate more, see each other more. And I would say the one thing I think as parents, when we have older kids, we see where we could have done things differently. And so my oldest son, I worked a lot, single mom and salaried jobs, and there was really no work-life balance, and so you made it work. But I don't really remember a lot about my oldest son's high school years. And so I wanted to do things different. He's in his last few years. I wanted to make sure that we had that time to really be together. And yeah, those are moments you can't get back, or years you can't get back. And so that felt right. This feels right to be able to be with him and make sure that he goes into the next part of his life healthy and happy. And so it's like with that, situation being the way that it was, me having to move out of my home, move into an apartment, I wanted to, my house is up for lease, but I'm like, oh my God, like 5 months in, I would say, and I have no tenants. I've had people that inquired, but no one that, really panned out. And so being that I did take the full time at Lowe's, it really was a good thing because I really lean on that income to supplement having to pay, my mortgage there and the rent here. Now I do have one rental, and so that helps, but it does not cover, it covers the mortgage over there, and it covers like half of the rent here, but I'm still on the, on it for the other half and the mortgage. And so with that, it pretty much takes up a lot of what I make at Lowe's. Well, all of what I make at Lowe's. And so then I have the vending, which God has been it has been my lifeline, because I would not be able to continue to pay a mortgage and rent without that income. And so I have just been, really working that. I still, do have a machine that's out of service. It does not have a location, but with everything that went on, just the move and all of the stress and stuff that goes with moving, and then you add on the reason I moved, it just became like something I was like, it'll just have to wait. And so I really did not put in a lot of effort. I mean, I went to a few places, I made a few calls, but I didn't really get out there, and do more places and make more phone calls. And so that was a missed opportunity. And so this year I am going to make sure that I do that. So I did leave out, I do ShiftSmart also. I did that. I started that maybe like, I think maybe it's been 3-4 months, maybe 4 months of ShiftSmart. And yeah, maybe 5. And that gives me, like, it's not going to pay a mortgage or anything like that, but it gives me a lot of extra money, money that my son and I can maintain our eating out habit, a movie, whatever little places are around here, main event, bowling, and things of that nature. In addition to that, like, it allows me to save a little money to have for emergencies. And so I've dedicated the next few months in just trying to, get that $700 that I need to pay the locator to get it located. And so ShiftSmart has really been an extra little, cup or bucket that I can pull from when I need. I do it on a day I get off of work early, because some days I do have like a 6 to 1 or 6 to 2 schedule. So if I get off at 2, I go to ShiftSmart for 3, and I work it for 2 hours, and then I'm home. There's still no real nights in there. If I'm off on a weekend, I may get up early and do a 4 a.m. to a 6:30 shift, and I'm home. My son is still asleep, never even knew I was gone. And then once, I go take a nap, get back up, and I have the rest of my Saturday to go out to eat, to a movie, whatever we want to do. And so that's how I work ShiftSmart into my schedule, so that it is not something that's causing me to pull any time away from what was the ultimate goal, was to be more present for my son. So, none of this is the final destination. These are just tools that I am using. So the goal is for me to have flexibility, to work how I want to work. And I'm still able to make money. I'm still, I've been able to stretch out, my money that I've pulled from when I need it, to be able to continue to stretch that out. With Lowe's, I have the ability to create another, stream of money that I can pull from in the future with the 401, or, the saving programs that they have. So nothing is being forced, and I feel like the decision was necessary because honestly, money is tight. I left work and I made videos, and I stated that I did not leave work because by no means was I financially set to do so. It was just I left because I was in a state of, when am I going, to be able to have the flexibility to be present for my son, for my family, my mom as she's aging, to have a little more engagement there. And so I think I am accomplishing those things. Now, the goal is, to get my son out of high school 2 more years. I feel like that last year will be even more flexible because, he'll be driving. Hopefully I'll be able to provide him with his own transportation. And at that age, they're more inclined to be doing their own things, you know. And so I am setting myself up for when that time comes, I do have the money that I need to continue to have the flexibility to work how I want to work and do other things. So every move right now I'm making is about positioning. The comfort will come later, because my biggest motivation is in this moment is to just make sure that my son finishes school happy, stable, and he feels supported. And at the same time, I'm setting myself up for a future where I'm not working, you know, out of fear or because money is tight, but by choice. And that is where I feel like retirement really looks like freedom for me. Of course, you know, your children, just because they're out of high school doesn't mean they go off, and that's fine. But once again, he will be in a position where I feel like he is happy, stable, and supported to make the necessary decisions when he gets there on what he wants to do and what he's prepared to do with his life after high school. And so I am just popping on, trying to get myself back in the mode of making videos. It is so easy to be like, I'm tired, I have no time, I look a mess, I always wear hats anyway, but you know, make excuses to not make a video. And so I'm just back on here, my first video in like a couple of months. And so yeah, I'm gonna try because I am always on the go, which feels good though. I will have to say I did just go to a 4-day work week. I did feel like I was feeling a little exhausted there, and that didn't feel like working how I wanted to work. And so I put in a request to only work 4 days, and those 4 days may be, you know, like a 9 or 10-hour day, but I still get weekends off, you know, in the mix of that, plus an additional day off during the week. And that day could be my lazy day, no ShiftSmart, no vending, no Lowe's, just chilling out while my son's at school, you know, maybe head to the salon, whatever. But I just felt like I did need that one day in there. And so that starts here soon. And I just had a week off. It just worked out that way. And I do have, you know, I did have a lot of times in there where I was having like 4 days off in a row. I had a great Thanksgiving schedule. I had a wonderful Christmas schedule, all with, you know, 3-4 days off. And so for me right now, this works. And so if you're in the season where things feel a little heavy, I say just know that sometimes rebuilding feels like that, like it looks quiet. Sometimes it looks like rest, but sometimes it will look like work. But it doesn't mean you're failing. Like, I had to really look at myself and say I'm not failing. Like, I'm doing what I wanted to do when I initially left my job. It just means that I am in a moment, a messy middle, as I like to say, I guess, where I'm just being more strategic, and it's gonna all fall into place. Thank you for watching my little videos. I really do appreciate it. And leave me a comment. Like, let me know something that you've had to overcome, and you know, what are some of the things that you learned through that process that may help me or others out there. And yeah, so thank you once again for watching my videos, and I will see you in the next one.